Hi, this is Farhad, and this video is a sequence to the Microfrontends video that we had before. That video was about how to do microfrontends with module federations in Webpack 5. And at first I thought I'd make and go on with the example from the previous video, but I thought maybe I can make it more interesting. So in this video we are going to go through SingleSpa, a little bit React and a little bit Vue. And to do that we are going to have the architecture here that we have. So except the API gateway part, the front end A and front end A B, and the container app. And the theme would be implementing Amazon. So I'm going to have the header implemented in React with MUI, with the material design UI in React, and a small part of the web page with Vue. So I think then that would be an actual example of the real world. So the two frontends are already implemented in React and Vue. We are just going to go through how to convert them into a SingleSpa micro frontend. So we are going to go through the SingleSpa documentation to see how will it be done and how painful will it be. But no worries, let's see how it works. Yeah. The start, I thought maybe we can go through the root config application, so which is the container app, and what it does is just get together all of the front ends. So this way, when we do, for example, when we convert a React app to a micro front end, we can see it in action. So let's see how we can set up a SingleSpa root config. So this is the SingleSpa documentation, like I'm on the getting started. I got it from get started, and so I'm going to use this command. And if I remember it right, this command will give you the choice, like what do you want to do? Like, do you want a Vue micro frontend, a React micro frontend, or do you want a root config? Normally I just use it for the root config because I prefer to do the React or React. This is my first React project I've done for this video, but for Vue I mostly just create a Vue frontend and then convert it to a micro frontend, because then this way you will see what I mean, because when you convert an app to micro frontend, it doesn't really load the frontend anymore, so you need to run it standalone. So it's asking me if this is my directory. No, so I want it to be running in Smazon. So yeah, so it was Amazon, but I thought maybe I can call it Smazon because it's SingleSpa Amazon. It makes sense. Root config npm, it does use TypeScript. I want the layout engine. The layout engine is it's a nice structure from SingleSpa that will let you to have your different micro frontends structured by routes and so on. The organization is Smazon, and so let's see. This is gonna take a while.
A few moments later.
So now our container app is set up. Let's go into it to see what's going on. So we are going to go to Smazon, open it. So what it gives us, so the important parts are this Smazon root config. This is where the application starts. So whatever you need for let's make this point, so I will explain this here. So let's say that on each of your applications or frontends, you have authentication and authorization. Those applications will no longer do the authentication. So for example, if you are going to connect to an identity server to let the user log in and then come back to get the token, you have to do it here. So before, if you were in the Vue application, before the Vue renders, you were going to do the login, or in React too, but this time you have to do it here. If you have an identity server, you have to do it before the start. And then, for example, store the token inside a cookie, or in session storage, or in local storage, and then use it on the other applications if it is not going to be stored already. So this is the explanation of this file. This is important. Like let's say this is like your main TS in Vue, or it's like your index TS6 in React. And the other ones are, so the other important one is this one. The index EJS file will let you to configure your remote microfrontends. So as you see here, it is this is the part that you need to configure. The rest, if we get time, I will explain. But this is the most important part, and whenever I want to deploy this into Kubernetes, I create a config map for this, and then put this as a JSON file into the pod. So then this will load it from the every time that it loads on the browser, it will get the JSON, and then it will load the micro frontends. So let's actually run this and see what will happen. So the run command is npm start. So let's see. So this is what will run after. So this is what is there. So this is the welcome page, and if I go here, I think, yeah, I will see it here. So this is how SingleSpa will load your micro frontends. As you see here, if I do this, well, not this one, but this one, it has a key. So it's like SingleSpa welcome, and then this is here too. So it says by default on the router, load the SingleSpa welcome from here, and then this is the route to load the SingleSpa. Sorry, this is the route to load the SingleSpa welcome page. So yeah, that's it. And as you see, they also have some examples of how to put a navbar there and so on, which we are going to use this one to put our navbar. And yeah, that's it. So these three files are the important ones here, and then you can just configure your container app. So let's go on and then convert our React to micro frontend, which I have no idea how to do that. So let's go on. Okay, so now we have our root config set up. Now let's see how is our React navbar. So let's go to the React app. Don't judge me by the code. So this is my first React ever. And let's see. So this is our application, and npm start. So this is if I go to app.tsx, as you see, this is just an app bar component and a toolbar component. The app bar component is the top navbar from Amazon, and then toolbar component is the bottom one from Amazon, where it shows the categories. And these are my components, and the plan is that to just so why we have to convert this to a micro frontend. Let's say that we have multiple micro frontends, they connect to their own microservices and so on. Like let's say in Amazon we have the Prime Video, and we have Audible and so on, and all of them have to use the same application bar, like the same app bar. Like in the invoice pages, in the cart, in the order, so they are all different microservices and micro frontends. If we are going to copy this app bar into each separate frontends, and let's say each of them have been developed in different technologies, it's going to be very tricky and then not really easy to maintain. So with the micro frontends, it's pretty easy to just package the component, which is like mostly used in all of the pages, and just put it once in your page, and then this will be, for example, maintained by one developer, or like that developer can have different of these micro frontends, is responsible for different micro frontends, and then whenever a change happens, then when it gets deployed, the change will apply everywhere. So we don't need to go on and then deploy this application bar in all of our in all of different micro frontends or frontends. Yeah. So let's see how does it look like.
A few moments later.
So it is built, and now this is how it looks like. Pretty close, right? So let's say this is Amazon with material design. I even changed the logo. It's called Smazon, and then the arrow is the other way around. And then we have all of these. So let's convert this to a micro frontend. We want to have this available in all of our other frontends. So let's do that. So we are going to go to SingleSpa, and this is where I mostly search for. So it has multiple ecosystems, and this is how we should do it. So npm install save. So let's do that. And now we can use the SingleSpa React to create and export SingleSpa lifecycle functions from your application's entry file. Yeah, so this is the same in all of the different micro frontends that they create. Even so, when we get to Vue, you see they use Vue CLI, so you can do Vue add SingleSpa and will do all of this automatically. So let's see. How is it done here? Because we have also some customizations on the index.tsx, and let's see how should we do this.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
So here, after investigating the SingleSpa documentation regarding the React conversion to micro frontend, I realized that I should have used the SingleSpa CLI, since the documentation from SingleSpa was not really matching the existing files inside React 18. And then after I installed or used the CLI, I realized what you will see next. Okay, after a long while of digging, I didn't find really an example with React 18. Apparently, so I don't have that much experience with React, so I really didn't know what is different from React 17 to 18. But I think this should be something with the entry files and so on. So instead, I just used the npx create SingleSpa and then actually, let's see. I will show you what I did. So let's create a test project. I will create a test project, then I will delete it later. I did this. So do you remember I said that I just used this command to create the root config, because with the Vue I just use the Vue CLI. Well, with React it's better to use this because it will set up everything on its own. And then I imported everything that I had from the other React application to this new React apps created by SingleSpa, and then the theme just created normally. So this is the normal navbar that I had, and then it had one index.tsx file and so on, which I couldn't get it to work with this, but then I created the navbar SingleSpa. And then this one had this root component, so this is the test, but it already had this entry file, for example, configured, and it had the root component, for example, which was like this is the app tsx which we had in the other React. And then I just imported my React components from the other applications here, and then it worked. So here, let's see what I did. So test, we'll call it test React. And then here, if you remember, I selected this one, but now here I went on and selected SingleSpa application. And then I wanted to create a React app with NPM. I wanted to use TypeScript, and the organization name I just called it Smazon. And then the name, just called it Navbar. Now here it's test. And then it will go on and create the application. So let's cancel it. So we, let's go to the new application that we created with like the SingleSpa Navbar, and then started it normally. So now what happens is that it will not start anything. So let's wait. It will just show a guide, like say, okay, hey, this is a micro frontend, and you cannot see anything here. If you want to run a standalone, you have to run the application in a standalone mode, which for it there is a script to run. And then what we need here is that it is here. So we need to use this file inside our container app, and the container app will get this JavaScript and load it there. But now let's actually load it in a standalone to see what I mean. So npm start, npm run start standalone. So for the development experience, especially when you have a very much more complicated front-end, which we have mostly with Vue, it's better that you always just develop it directly with Vue.js without SingleSpa and anything, and at the end add SingleSpa, because then you will get cuts between the standalone mode and the micro frontend, except if you have already a template which supports the standalone mode completely. Because for example, the standalone mode is not just it is not just loading the application, especially in Vue. It is like some customizations, as I said, like with authentication. The application in the standalone mode should do the authentication, but in the micro frontend mode, it just does the authorization. For example, it may not need an app bar, but when you're doing development, you need the app bar for login, logout, and so on. So now let's see how will it look like. So this is how it looks like when I load it as a standard in a standalone mode. And this is what we had before, so everything is fine. So now let's actually now have it inside that container app. So to do that, so let's have it normally run npm start, and we have, let's go to the other one. It's just here. Code, call it src, and then call it Smazon, right? So this is our container app, and what we want to do here is to change two parts. So we don't need this here anymore, but so let's call this one, for example, general navbar, and where it loads from is just here. Let's copy this and have it here, and so here it already have an example, so I will take it out and put it here, and I say, okay, so here's the general navbar, and let's start the app and let's see what will happen. Normally we should have our this will not work. Let's actually still have this running there, because yeah, this will load here, and yeah, so let's see. So we so what we should see is that the nav bar should be there, and the welcome page under it. So the nav bar is not there, so let's see what's the problem. Died, unable to resolve bare specified React from Okay, let's see if it is actually loading it successfully. So Smazon navbar. Do you see it here? Yeah, it is here. So it should be there, but it is not. So let's resolve this issue now. Actually, it is an error from system.js. Maybe there is something with sharing the React here. So we have to check how can we import it now inside the container app. Well, I would confess with Vue it's much more straightforward. But now let's see how will it be done, how to share the React, because apparently it says unable to resolve bare specify React from here.
1 hour later.
Okay, after some more diggings I found how to solve this issue, but apparently it's a known issue by SingleSpa. So let's see that we search it for, it's here. So apparently we have to add the React and React DOM on our own to the SingleSpa import map, which is not really nice, and they said that this is going to be solved, but this is from 2020 and it is not yet solved, so I'm not sure. But with Vue this is not needed. So when you import Vue.js, it just runs, and we are going to check Vue.js too. So let's see now how does it look like. So now we have these import maps here in the system.js import map, but this is different than this one. This is where apparently we have the third-party libraries. It is not different, it will just merge the two import maps together. So the second one, if you notice, it has an isLocal on it, and then when it loads it will merge it to the one above, so we have like one import map altogether. Now let's see how does it actually look like. So this is how it looks like now. As you see, so this is our header and it is loaded, so if I like pull it out it will go away. So now this is being loaded remotely from the other front end, and under it we have our welcome page. So the next step is to load our view, and let's see how is the Vue conversion to Microfrontend compared to React. And yeah, so let's see how is that done. So this is our Vue application, and this is a Vue 2 application with TypeScript, and we are using class components. So if I show here, we are using class components and we are using Vuetify for material design implementation. And actually, let's see how does it look like. And then we are going to go through converting this to a SingleSpa microfrontend.
Many minutes later.
Okay, so the Vue app is also up and running, and now let's see how does it look like. So this is how the Vue app looks like. This is the home page, and and it loads under the route, so it also has a router. So there is not much more here, except that if you want, you can subscribe here. Nice, but beside that, let's now see how can we integrate this into our container app. So this is also running, but first actually we have to convert it to Microfrontends. So this is view add SingleSpa. Actually, let's go to the SingleSpa page to see this in the documentation. Ecosystem view. So it is through the CLI. You can also do it by hand, but let's just do it by the CLI. And yeah, so we want to install it. Okay, so the SingleSpa is also added here, and now if I do npm run serve, I will see the same page as we had in React that says there is no micro frontend here, like, or actually this is a micro frontend, so you cannot see the page, and then if you want you can run it in the standalone mode. And then if you see here, it has also even added me an env standalone, and then inside the packages, I also have here have the script for server standalone, which will just select the env standalone to set this environment variable for Node.js to build it as in a standalone mode. But there is one configuration which is missing inside the documentation from SingleSpa for Vue. Let's see if they have added this. This configuration is done inside the Vue config.js, which is not this one. It is the target system, and the target system should be set to system. Otherwise, it won't load. But let's do it without, and then see what error we will get, and then we can fix it. So this is now our Vue.js application as micro frontend, and now let's also add this into our container app. And then here, so let's remove this and then call it Smazon main, and then this is our main page, like it's the home, or we can just call it home. And yeah, so just change this, and then let's see what will happen. So by experience, I know that this should not work because of that configuration in the system.js for Vue, but let's see if they have fixed anything. So wait until bundle is finished. Yes, let's see. Unable to resolve BER SingleSpa home. It can be, but let's do that. Let's add that configuration inside the Vue app. Yeah, here. So it is here, and I already have it here. Configure webpack, npm serve. Okay, so I added the configuration, but then it didn't work. But then I realized that before I also had an issue with the namespaces, so I changed the namespace also to shop, and then it worked. But I want to remove this from here, and then see if it will work. And then when you change this, so this should be the same as here. And now let's see. start. Yep, it needs the config and the died cannot read properties of undefined reading meta, and okay, so it needs the namespace change, so the namespace is unique here, and it also needs the configuration on the view config.js. So we are going to put it back and we are going to see how will it look like. So now the view is built, it is running, is served with this configure map, and our container app is also running, and now let's see how does it look like. So yeah, so now everything is loaded, and it looks like, so it's fine, it is almost similar, but if you notice, we are missing some images here, and I think the reason that the other images are loading is that they are loading as base 64, or there is another explanation to it, and the reason that these are not working is that let's see, here it says they are base 64, so, and it is because of the default src self, https and localhost. Image src was not explicitly set, so default src is used. Okay, so now this is because of the content security policy, which is set here. This is the CSP, and we have to set the image src as well. So we have to add the image src for base 64, image src to support base 64 in CSP. Okay, so let's add it right to the default src so we know what is what. We have the image src, which is going to support self, https, localhost, and data, which is for the data URL. So now let's look at it. So now as you see, most of them are loading now, except this one, which we are going to see why. So the images are now there, and the reason was that, okay, so now it says, okay, allow every image source that is loaded from self URL from any local host with any ports, and also started with the data prefix, which is the data URL. And now let's see why the icon is not loading. Well, there is basically no error for this, and the reason why it's not loading. There is one error regarding the WebSockets. It can be the material design icons. They are being loaded remotely. So I'm using a CDN. I think by default Beautify uses a CDN here. Let's check. Yes, so this is the material design icons, and okay, so let's download them actually. So if I go to npm npm.js, well, the one that I'm searching for here is not the correct one. I remember the one is @mdi/fonts, which I'm going to fast forward. Yeah. Well, this is the correct one. And to use it, we have to just simply say import mdi font, the CSS font, and all that CSS. So let's run again. the only icon we need is the YouTube icon here, and we should be good to go. And then the play button here too. Okay, fair enough. So let's see. MDI, CSS. Okay, so it's no longer all that CSS. It is this one. Okay, so the icons are also there too. So the icons are also there now. Okay, so now we also have the icons, and yeah, so yeah, and this can be fixed easily later when you can load all of the images like with lazy loading or something. So like it have the height, but it doesn't. It loads the image in progress, so it's pixelated and then it loads. But for now, it's good enough. So let's see. And it's this one. Yeah, it could be. So as you see here, the advantage of SingleSpa, so we could get it to work. So at the end, even for me that it has been my first time doing React, and I actually really liked React itself. But as you see at the end, with SingleSpa, we can get it to work. The documentation is not really the best. The errors are not really descriptive and so on, but still it's not that complicated, because when you get the container app to load your microfrontends, then you're good to go, because everything else that is running is Vue or React. Right now I have the top bar with React and I have the homepage with Vue.js, and they are just working fine. And one approach is that I want to try, I have not yet tried it, to communicate between these two applications is through the normal HTML events inside the page. So then maybe you need to create a library, or maybe there is already one package from npm already exists that you can communicate with event listeners with between the two applications. So for example, let's say if I added something to my cart here, the cart gets updated and so on. Here I just wanted to see how is it done in Amazon with updating the cart, but then I realized it's not really with the event listeners, and instead it's probably GraphQL subscription to the cart changes. I'm not sure if it reloads the page. No, it doesn't. So it will just count. So this is the same. So as you see, it will just bump up the number here, and then this can be another component, and they do it probably by the event listeners in HTML, and this is the same that we can do here. Yeah, but this is pretty fun, and it will be very helpful. The deployment is also the same as you would do a normal front end. So you have to deploy your container app, and then Vue app and React app, and inside your container app you just need to put this import map that I explained earlier inside a config map, for example if you are doing Kubernetes, and this one, and then it will load from this config map as a JSON, and then so you don't need to deploy the container app every time that you change a front end, and then this will get updated automatically. It's only that you need to change it on each of the other applications update, because when you build for production, these will have a suffix, so it doesn't get cached, so it loads the new version, and that's why you need to reload the config map. and probably you need a process to update that config map and so on. For development experience, it can get tricky, especially if you're a new developer, and then so if you don't run in a standalone mode, it can come up that you are running like 5 different UIs to just see one feature. And this means that whenever you manage to, for example, pack your Vue application and then have it running as a standalone with SingleSpa, you extract those templates and then use it in other projects. So this means that then later you don't need to create your Vue applications and at the end add SingleSpa. You can from the beginning have SingleSpa there but run in standalone mode. But it's still easier developing, have a better development experience. That's it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if there is any questions, and have fun coding.